Hey friends, welcome to the Still Point Studio. Today we're doing a lesson on changing chords. If you're a beginner or intermediate guitar player, you already know that the hard part about playing chords is not making one chord, but changing between chords. At the beginning, changing chords feels like your fingers have to do some sort of impossible dance on the fretboard. Today, I'm going to give you two practices that will expedite this process beyond the usual strategy of endless repetition and endless frustration. We're going to use two chords, C chord and D chord. These two chords show up together in a lot of songs, so we will practice them in a chord progression. You can do the same practice with any chords you want, and I recommend using these exercises when you run into a chord change that is giving you problems. Let's start by just getting our C chord and our D chord happening to remember how they look. Here's our C chord. I'll put a chord chart up for you. That's our C chord. So make it, look at it, think about how it looks, how it feels, how it sounds. All of this information is helpful as we practice chords. Let's do the same thing with D. Make it a few times, lift your hand, just practice putting it back. This might be tough for some of you. We're just doing it right now to remember how our chords look and sound. Now, we want to think about playing our C chord and then our D chord in time, as if we were playing a song. This is called a chord progression. So C, 2, 3, 4, D, 2, 3, 4. And often it feels really tricky to get to the chord at the right time. Most of the time when you're a beginner, you might have some long pause before your second chord, and that's okay. That's what we're practicing today. Let's get right into the first exercise. The first practice is to move one finger at a time, to practice moving just one finger. The first question to ask is, does any finger stay in the same spot? This does not happen for C and D, but it does happen in some other examples like C and A minor. Let me demonstrate this a few times just so you understand what I mean. So you can see when I go to A minor from C, I only need to move my third finger. The other two fingers stay. So if there's ever a finger that stays between your chord change, don't move it. Back to C and D. We don't have any fingers that stay, so they all move. So we're going to start, make your C chord, and then we're going to think about what our first finger, our index finger, needs to do to play D. To play D, it needs to go to the second fret on the third string. We can play it or not play it. Either way is fine. So C, and then place your first finger. That's it. Just practicing what each finger needs to do. So, first finger, now let's go into our second finger. Start with C, and then to play D, our second finger needs to go to the first string, second fret. Again, you can just place it or you can play it. Either way is fine. So you want to do each finger until it feels comfortable and you are solid in what that finger needs to do. So let's do our third finger. C, and then our third finger, second string, third fret. So the first practice is just moving one finger at a time between the chords, letting your mind and your body learn what it needs to do to move between two chords. You want to practice each finger until it feels really comfortable and you're confident that you know where each finger goes. Practice number 2 involves thinking about our stack order, or the order that you place your fingers when you make a chord. As we get more advanced, it seems like everything goes at the same time. So when I go for my C chord and I'm thinking about D, all my fingers move. At first, you're gonna feel like they go one at a time. Maybe something like this. So you can see there, the natural stack order for me would be to go 2, 3, 1. So to put those down in quick succession. There's no right answer to stack order. This is an individualized thing that will feel different for you, so you have to figure out what works for you. I'm not suggesting you give up stacking. That's an important part of learning the chords. As you get better, again, they'll happen all at the same time, but at the beginning it's fine to stack, and when you're playing with people, use whatever stack order feels natural for you. Today, we're gonna switch up our stack order, and again, this is gonna help us learn how to change chords on a deeper level. First thing to do would be to reverse the order of your stack. So for me, going from C to D, it would feel natural to go 2, 3, and then 1. So I'm gonna reverse that. I'm gonna consciously put down my first finger, then my third finger, then my second finger. 1, 3, 2. I can honestly say that feels pretty weird. Feels backwards to me. And I wouldn't necessarily do that when I was playing a song, but for practicing, it's helping me learn the finger movements to get between chords. So find your stack order for D, and I want you to reverse it. Just do it backwards. It's gonna feel really unnatural at first, but that is practicing. That's gonna help you improve your changing, and soon you'll be able to do it all at the same time. All right, let's try another stack order. So for me, 2, 3, 1 feels the most natural. 1, 3, 2 was the reverse. Let's go 3, 1, 2. So I'm gonna make my C chord, and then I'm gonna consciously put down my third finger, first finger, second finger. Changing up my stack order here. So in doing that, I'm giving myself more information. I'm getting right into the root of changing chords and thinking about what each finger needs to do and the intricate dance that the fingers need to do with each other. So step 1 is to think about individual movements, thinking about what each finger needs to do to get to each chord, practicing that by itself. Step 2 is playing around with the stack, the order that you put your fingers down to play a chord, and switching that up, reversing it, just trying different combinations. You'll find that if you do these two practices, your chord changes will get faster. Faster than the usual strategy of just going back and forth and back and forth forever. By confusing ourselves, our minds, and our fingers, we're giving ourselves more information. You may find that in reversing your stack order, you can't even remember how to play a D chord. That's awesome, because that means you're really practicing. You're really getting in, and then you have a chance to learn something that you didn't know before you started. I recommend employing these two simple exercises anytime you run into a complicated set of chord changes. For beginners, that's often the F chord or the B chord. Our first, bar chords. These are tricky for lots of reasons, one being the finger combination, 2 being the bar. Anytime you find a tricky sequence in a song, break it down. Pull those 2 chords out, practice moving 1 finger at a time between the chords, and then practice reversing your stack order. The goal here is to practice smarter, not harder. I am a guitar teacher all the time. I teach lessons every day. I'm trying to help people with things that I wish I had known in the beginning. So hit subscribe down below. Come practice with me.